All right, today we're attacking a big topic, going back to school. So, one of the things we need to remember, right, whenever people are bringing up this argument, one of the things that always gets mentioned is kids. Kids aren't, oh, kids don't get it as bad. There's not as many deaths or bad illnesses from children, which we need to remember. There are children getting sick. There are children dying. There are children that are having serious consequences of having the disease. But let's remember, schools also imply hundreds of adults as well. A typical high school has hundreds of adults working at it, and those ages range from right out of college all the way up to about to retire, and in some cases people who could have retired but are working a few years more. So we definitely have some vulnerable individuals working at these schools. So just saying let's open it all up, not as easy as you might think. Okay, so the experiment we're going to run basically is Florida. So Florida is going to open up. They have mandated that their schools need to open up physically. So students in the classrooms, and for some schools that means 2 weeks from now. 2 weeks from now, they're all going to be, just like normal. Everyone's crammed in these classrooms. You've got teachers that are close to retirement, all in these classrooms together, and they're forcing it to happen. So let's take a look.
The debate heats up over how and if schools should reopen in the fall. Education Secretary Betsy DeVos made this claim.
More and more studies show that kids are actually stoppers of the disease, and they don't get it and transmit it themselves. So we should be in a posture of the default should be getting back to school, kids in person, in the classroom.
Right, that is simply not true. Kids are not stoppers of the coronavirus.
That's right. It is simply not true. So she's just lying. She's just putting out facts that are misleading because we'll see Trump says the same thing in a minute. They just want us back to work. The schools are not being opened because of education. They're being opened because they are daycares so that then they can force the adults to get back to work. That's the whole thing. Just to give you some context, this experiment that's about to run in Florida, in 1 week, Florida's data, their numbers went up by 1/3 in 1 week. Okay, so that's not good. They're in the middle of a spike. Things are going higher and higher, and they're going to start putting people together in closed rooms, 30 to 40 people at a time. It's not going to go well. And we see here it's about as plain as it could be. Researchers in South Korea found that young people between the ages of 10 and 19 transmit the virus just as easily as adults. So, they do not get as sick as frequently as older people do, but they spread the disease just like everyone else. So when we start putting them together, 2,000 kids at a high school, couple hundred adults, kids are not washing their hands like they should be. They're touching each other, giving each other high fives, coughing on each other, all sorts of stuff. They're going to spread it. And then those kids are going to bring it home to their families. And parents are going to die, and grandparents are going to die. And the thing is, teachers are going to die. You can bet here in a few weeks, every single time that a public school teacher dies, it's going to be in the news. Every time a kid dies, which hopefully won't happen very often, but it's going to happen if you're sending millions of kids back, it's going to be all over the news. So we'll see how Florida goes. I don't think it's going to go very well.
A German study cited by the Department of Education found a low infection rate in schools. One researcher saying, quote, children may even act as a brake on the infection. But here is the catch on that. That study is not peer reviewed, meaning Betsy DeVos should not be hanging her hat on it. It should not be used as a guide for these kinds of decisions. President Trump echoing this same false claim.
They don't bring it home with them now. They don't catch it easily. They don't bring it home easily. And if they do catch it, they get better fast.
Well, that would be nice if it were true.
Right. So this is the problem. We have the president and the head of education, right? The highest education person in this entire country. And they're both saying it's totally fine. Kids aren't going to get it. They're not vectors. They're not going to spread it around. In fact, they are stoppers, when we know that's not the case. Okay. The science is pretty clear cut. There was something that came out that did indicate that, it called kids the stoppers of this virus, but it wasn't peer reviewed. It's not legitimate science taking place. Once you start having the peer reviewed science that's going through the process, then you can start comparing them. But if you've got on this hand unpeer reviewed work, and on this hand peer reviewed work, guess which one you go with? You go with the one that's gone through the rigorous scientific work. Okay, so you can't just find something that agrees with you and then go with it. It's like citing work. You have to see, is this thing I'm citing actually legitimate? And right now, I would go with the work out of South Korea that says it looks like kids get it pretty much as much as adults do, and spread it around. So they don't get as severe a case of it, but it's still a problem if they're going to be spreading it around to everyone's household. I mean, there almost isn't a better way to spread it than if you just send everyone back to school, because then every household who has someone who has it, they're now going to spread it to the other kids who are going to take it home to all the different households. And I know it's hard. It's hard because people need to get back to work, because people are hurting because of the money. This is exactly why we need these bailouts to help actual people. The actual workers of this country need to get helped, and not where they get a tiny slice of the pie, where corporations should be getting this tiny slice of the pie, and the people who get the pie should be the workers of this country, right? That's who we need to be supporting, not marching them off to die to stock food at the grocery store.